My grandmother, Patty Van Dusen, passed away yesterday, December 30th, somewhere around 8 p.m. So now it's time to celebrate. I've never really understood, I guess, grieving loved ones who've gone. And I've had a little bit of experience with it. I lost my brother 6 years ago. Two of my best friends died, one in Iraq and one from suicide. And so I feel like I'm as familiar as anyone with losing people that you really care about. But for me, I don't know, I guess we all handle things differently, right? I just feel like when someone's gone, their pain is over. And maybe that's because a lot of the people that I have lost in life were in pain. I guess at the end, that was sort of true of my grandmother. She was 95 years old, and she decided she was done living, and it took like a week for her body to finally quit. This was a woman, that just did not want to go, or at least her body didn't. So I decided to share a story with the camera that really everyone in my family knows very, very well. We probably talk about it at every single family get-together. But it's one of the fondest memories that I have of my grandmother. And I feel like I kind of have a unique view of something that many of us grandchildren experience. When we were young, this is a long time ago. I'm an old man now, so late 80s, maybe early 90s. In the summer, when we were out of school, all of us grandkids used to go to my grandparents' house, and my grandmother would take us down to this creek to go skipping rocks and walking, barefoot in the creek. This is a long time ago. It was, they didn't have video games at their house, and you could only play so much baseball in the backyard. And my grandmother loved being outdoors, and it was just sort of our thing. It's what we did. She went on walks every day, and they had this creek, little tiny creek, that ran by their house. And so she would take all of us grandkids for a walk. And it wouldn't have been really that big of a deal, right? Except for the fact that my mother, who was very, very cautious woman, you could say, did not want my brother and I going to this creek. She was convinced that, it was just seething with snakes, and one of us was going to get bit, or we were going to fall, or I don't know, life was going to happen, right? Something terrible was going to happen. And so we were not supposed to go to the creek, and my grandmother was instructed not to take us to the creek. Well, my grandmother, being the woman that she was, didn't care what my mom said, and we went anyway. And so, again, this probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal, except for the fact that my younger brother, Brian, couldn't keep a secret from Mom. And so my grandmother, trying to avoid problems with my mother, she had at her house like a separate pair of shoes for my brother and I when we would come over there, so that we could try to go to the creek with the rest of the grandkids and not have my mom know, in case our shoes got wet or whatever. We had our own special creek shoes. But of course, my brother, the first thing he does when he sees my mom is snitches off and tell that, we went to the creek. So my grandmother would have to get, an earful from my mom. But again, it didn't change anything, like we were going to go to the creek, and that was what she did. And that's what we did. And so, I don't know, I'm not trying to blame anybody, but, I guess in hindsight, I kind of learned a funny lesson from that, that sometimes in life it's better to ask forgiveness than permission. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes having fun is worth breaking the rules. And that has really embodied the entire life that I have lived. I have broken every rule you can break, just about. I have pushed my life to the extremes in so many ways. And for a 40-year-old man, I have had a tremendous amount of life experience. So many crazy, unbelievable stories. I could fill hours of this card talking about all the nutty shit that I've gotten into, because I don't know, sometimes having fun's worth it. And sometimes breaking the rules is worth it, all within reason. But that was just sort of the character that my grandmother had. It was something that was instilled in me. And because of it, I feel like I have led the fullest life possible. I have sucked every ounce of enjoyment you can get out of a life when you were otherwise terrified of flying. Like, I've done everything I think, most things that I think I want to do in life. And so my grandmother enabled me to have such a full life that if I was to drop dead myself making this video, I would feel like I really, really lived. And that was the thing that I felt like when my brother died, because he was another character. I mean, he was even crazier than I am, had even more unreal experiences than I have. And so, again, I don't mourn his passing. I feel like we should live our lives in celebration to the people who we've loved and lost. I know I personally would not want the people that I care about to be in pain when I was gone. Right? Like, why would any of us wish that upon our loved ones? Surely everybody out. I mean, why would you want the people you care about to hurt? When I drop dead, which is probably going to be soon, I hope everybody has a massive celebration. Have a party, Or even better, go do something crazy you've never done. And that's kind of the way I think about my brother's passing. Like, in memory of the crazy life he lived, I still to this day take insane risks with my own safety and well-being. Because the way I look at it is, you've only got one chance at this. You've got one life on this planet. Why waste it being boring? Why waste it taking no risks? I feel like you just got to do it, And so, yeah, I don't know. She will definitely be missed. I can't imagine, I can't imagine another person ever being or filling the shoes that she left behind. Just such a huge influence in my life. Another random story, I don't know why it just keeps popping into my head, but I think in closing, it sort of embodies the woman that she was. I remember one year, all the grandkids got together, and we went to Mamaw's house, and we were going to go to the swimming pool. And we loved the swimming pool because it had a high board. Way back when people were fun, when kids could do cool shit in the world, there was a high board that you could dive off of. And so we loved this pool, and we got over to my grandparents' house, and she cooked us toast for breakfast that morning, and I ate this toast, and suddenly I started feeling terrible, like a real upset stomach and just like queasy and tingly, and I just wanted to lay on the couch, and all my cousins are there, and my grandmother's like, well, guys, we may not be able to go. He's not feeling good. We're not just going to leave him here. And so they're prepared to, my grandmother's prepared to basically call off the entire day for my illness, and it just seems like a disaster. I was laying outside on this metal like swing that she had repainted probably 10 times. And finally she says, come on, Michael, I want you to come in the house with me. She takes me in her bathroom, and she gets in her medicine cabinet, and she comes out with this little bottle. I don't know what it was to this day, but it was this milky white liquid, and she poured it into a spoon, and she gave me this spoonful of medicine. And normally I would have been not trying to take any medicine. My mom had me terrified of everything. But my grandmother, I mean, if she said it was going to make me feel better, God damn it, it was going to make me feel better. So I drink this medicine that my grandmother gives me, and she says, now I want you to sit right here for just a little while. So we're sitting there in front of the toilet, and within a few minutes, I start puking my guts out. So she stands there behind me while I puke, and then she rubs me on the back and says, "Come on, let's go sit in the living room. You know, you feel better." I said, "Yeah." And we go sit in the living room, and within 10 minutes, I feel perfectly fine. And I'm up, bouncing around, running around the living room, and let's go to the pool. And we did. We all went to the pool that day, and I swam and had a great time. And to this day, I don't know what the hell that was. But it's a memory that's always stuck with me because it was kind of a representation of the power I felt my grandmother had. You know, there was never a situation that she couldn't make better. There was never a time where she didn't know exactly what you needed to hear to cope with whatever you were going through in life. Girl problems, school problems, job problems. It didn't matter what you had going on. You could go see Mamaw. And I guarantee you, when you walked out of her door, you felt better about yourself, and you knew you had it within you to face whatever the world was going to throw at you. And so I know everybody in my family is hurting tonight. But because of the woman that my grandmother was, we all have what it takes to face this and every other challenge that we will face in life. Because that is the power she wielded, and we are all very lucky to have known her. Thank you, Mamaw, and I love you.